my mom is my muse. This is my story of becoming an accidental author. The story starts almost 10 years ago. This is my wedding day. It was May 10, 2003. Jen and I were married in the Bahamas. And in 2004, our first daughter was born. My mom had been diagnosed with cancer in 2001, but she was living life to the fullest. She always had a smile on her face, a positive outlook, and a high hun for anyone that passed by. This prompted many trips for Jen and I from DC to Connecticut and Vermont to visit our folks. And ultimately, we moved here to the Ocean State to be closer to our family and also, of course, the ocean. It was around the same time that my mom's, the reality of my mom's diagnosis was setting in. Her hospital visits were becoming more and more frequent, and I knew it was time to have conversations with my mom that I had never had before. I wanted to know everything about her. I wanted to know about her life's adventures, her hopes, and ultimately her legacy. Oftentimes, the typical reaction is, I don't know what to say. However, based on the work that I do in inquiry and dialogue, I know it's more important to figure out what to ask. A subtle but significant difference. So I reached out to my professional colleagues with a simple request. I said, what questions would you ask if you knew you were going to lose a mother, father, sister, brother, or loved one? I got over 150 responses, including a publisher that said, these stories and questions can help so many. The questions were powerful, but I was amazed and surprised by how many stories were shared about people connecting with their loved ones toward the end of life. I collated the responses and sent it out and called it Tuesdays with Mom, Conversations That Heal. This is one of the stories from the book. Marcia was visiting her dad on his 90th birthday. He was sitting in his chair watching TV. She came around in front of him and said, tell me about a childhood friend that I'd never heard about before. He came alive. It was like he was 10 years old and back on the baseball diamond, reliving that story. The mother was dumbfounded. She said, Alan, you never told me you were on a championship team. He said, no one ever asked. And with that, he turned off the TV and said, what else do you want to know about? I had many conversations with my mom, but one of the most powerful conversations is when I asked her about what her life was like before I was born. She recounted many stories that I had never heard before, many stories of her childhood. And then one, after she graduated high school, how her and her best friend drove from Kentucky to Florida, just for the adventure of it. These kinds of questions helped you to get to know the whole person better, not just in the role of a mom, a sister, brother, grandparent, a loved one. Christmas 2005, and I knew we were getting close to the end. We were having wine and talking, and I noticed my mom was crying, and when I asked her why, she said, I didn't think I would live to see another Christmas. My mom ultimately lost her battle with cancer on March 6, 2006. We celebrated her life with stories surrounded by family and friends. The book took a back seat for a while. Enter Joan Chadbourne, friend and co-author, and we were back on track with the book. We collected many more stories and questions, and a natural flow emerged from getting to know them better to loving them goodbye and everything in between. It took 5 more years, but in February 2011, the book became a reality. I wrote it for people like you and me, sons, daughters, parents, friends, as a handbook or a way into these conversations to connect meaningfully with loved ones. People often ask me, what's the healing in healing conversations? I say it addresses the fundamental dis-ease or disease of isolation and separateness that happens toward end of life. These conversations are a way into it. So why is it so hard to talk about death? Many reasons. Fear of death, old hurts, or just the fear that you won't know what to do, say, or ask. You're not there to fix anything. You're there to ask different kinds of questions and listen differently, without assumption or judgment. You never know when death will come. This is a picture on Father's Day. Was my last Father's Day with my dad at the nursing home. So that's why the now is in healing conversations now. Just a few things to consider. One, what are you most curious to know about the other person? 2, positively biased and open-ended questions invite stories. 3, listen deeply and enjoy. So start simple. Ask about a favorite memory of us, or ask it about an accomplishment that you're most proud of, or go deeper. Imagine it's 20 years from now and your grandkids are talking about you. What do you most hope they'd be saying? Thank you.